The day everything changed. Grace Jenkins stood in the living room she had cleaned for 30 years, watching her daughter pack her belongings into garbage bags. "Mom, you're just too old now," Jennifer said without looking up. "You and Dad can't take care of yourselves anymore." Grace's hands shook. She was 72, yes, but she could still cook, clean, and care for her husband, William. They had raised 5 children in this house. 5 beautiful children they had adopted and loved with every piece of their hearts. "Jennifer, please," Grace whispered. "This is our home." "Not anymore." Jonathan, her oldest son, walked in holding papers. He was a lawyer. He knew how to make things official. "We're selling the house. You two need professional care." William stood in the doorway, his shoulders heavy. At 72, he still stood tall and strong. He had worked as a bricklayer for 45 years. His hands were rough from building walls, building homes, building a life for his children. "Where will we go?" William asked quietly. Jonathan smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "We found you a place. Dad's old cabin in Colorado. Remember? The one Grandpa left you." Grace's stomach dropped. That cabin was falling apart. It had been empty for 20 years. "That place is broken," William said. "There's no heat, no water, no—" "Then you'll fix it," Jennifer interrupted. "You're a builder, Dad. You always said you could fix anything. But what about Duke?" Grace looked at their German shepherd sleeping by the fireplace. Duke was 9 years old. They had found him on the streets, hungry and scared. Now he was family. "The dog goes with you," Jonathan said. "No nursing home will take a dog that size." Grace felt tears burn her eyes. Nursing home? They had never mentioned a nursing home. "You're kicking us out?" William's voice cracked. "After everything?" "We're helping you," Jennifer said, but her voice was cold as winter ice. "Be grateful." Memories in the rear-view mirror. The old pickup truck shook as William drove down the highway. It was rusty and loud. The heater didn't work. Grace sat beside him, wrapped in 3 blankets. Duke lay in the back, his warm brown eyes watching them through the rear window. Nobody spoke for the first hour. Grace remembered the day they adopted Jennifer. She was 6 years old, scared of everything. Grace had held her every night for 2 months until the nightmares stopped. She had braided her hair for school. She had taught her to read. William remembered teaching Jonathan to ride a bike. The boy had fallen 12 times. 12 times, William had picked him up, wiped his tears, and said, "Try again, son. I believe in you." They had adopted all 5 children from difficult situations. Each child had come to them broken, and Grace and William had loved them whole again. William had worked 2 jobs to pay for their college. Grace had cleaned houses on weekends to help start Jennifer's restaurant. They had sold their car to help Jonathan through law school. They had given everything. And now they had nothing but each other, a broken truck, and a dog. "Grace," William said softly, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "I should have protected you. I should have—" "Stop." Grace put her hand on his. "You gave those children everything good you had. That's not something to apologize for." Duke barked from back. It was a strange bark. Protective. Warning. What's wrong with him? Grace turned around. Duke's ears were flat. His teeth showed slightly. He was staring at something they couldn't see. "He's been acting weird all day," William said. "Like he knows something we don't." The truck climbed higher into the mountains. Snow began to fall. The road became narrower. Grace's heart beat faster. What were they going to do? They had $300. That was all. $300 and a lifetime of love that nobody wanted. The cabin of broken dreams. When they arrived, Grace wanted to cry. The cabin looked like it might fall down any second. The roof was caving in on one side. Windows were broken. The front door hung loose on old hinges. Snow had piled up against the walls. "Oh, William," Grace whispered. William sat in the truck, staring. His hands gripped the steering wheel, so tight his knuckles turned white. Duke jumped out first. He walked to the cabin door, sniffed, then looked back at them. His tail wagged once. Just once. Even the dog knows this is bad, William said. But they had nowhere else to go. William pushed open the door. It creaked like a horror movie. Inside was worse. The floor was rotting. Black mold grew on the walls. Furniture was covered in dust and mice droppings. The air smelled like death and forgotten dreams. Grace walked to the middle of the room and looked up through a hole in the roof. She could see the gray sky. "Our children did this to us," she said quietly. "Our babies." William walked to her and took her hand. "We survived worse, Grace. We survived poverty. We survived racism. We survived losing our parents. We'll survive this too." "Will we?" Grace looked at him with tired eyes. Duke barked again. This time it was different. Excited. He was scratching at the floor in the corner, digging at something. "What did you find, boy?" William walked over. Grace noticed something on a broken table. A plastic folder. She opened it. Inside were papers. Legal papers. Her hands began to shake as she read. "William," she said, her voice strange. "William, come here. Right now." He walked over. "What is it?" Grace held up the papers. Her eyes were wide. "These papers, they say this property is worth $380,000. William stared. "What?" "There's 50 acres here. Water rights to natural springs. Tax exemptions. This isn't just a broken cabin, William. This is land. Valuable land." They looked at each other. "Jonathan knew," Grace said slowly. "He's a lawyer. He looked up the property records. He knew exactly what this was worth. They didn't abandon us because we're old," William said, his voice shaking with anger. "They abandoned us because they want this land. They think we'll die up here in the winter, and then they'll inherit everything." Duke barked again. He had dug up part of the floor. Underneath was a metal handle. William pulled it. A door opened in the floor. Stairs led down into darkness. Grace found a flashlight in her bag. William went down first. Grace followed. At the bottom was a basement they never knew existed, and it was full of tools, building supplies, boxes of nails and screws, wood planks, a workbench, and in the corner, covered in dust, a diesel generator. William turned to Grace. His eyes were wet with tears, but he was smiling. "They tried to bury us," he said, "but they forgot something." "What's that?" "We're builders, Grace. We've been building our whole lives, and we're about to build something they'll never forget." Duke barked once more. Then he walked up the stairs and out the back door into the snowy woods. "Where's he going?" Grace asked. "I don't know," William said, "but I think that dog knows something we don't." Above them, through the broken roof, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time that day. Something was about to change. Something big. Duke's secret. Every morning for 3 days, Duke disappeared into the woods. He would leave right after breakfast and come back at sunset. His fur would be wet. He would smell different. Not bad, but strange. Like minerals and warmth. "Where does that dog go?" Grace asked on the 4th morning. William was hammering new boards onto the cabin walls. His arms were sore, but it felt good to build again. It reminded him of who he used to be, who he still was. "I don't know," William said, "but he always comes back happy." They had been working nonstop. William fixed the roof first so the rain and snow couldn't get in. Grace cleaned the mold and scrubbed the floors. They used the diesel generator for power. It was loud, but it worked. At night, they were exhausted, but they were also alive. More alive than they had felt in years. Grace had set up a system to catch rainwater and boil it for drinking. William built a wood stove from materials in the basement. Slowly, piece by piece, the cabin was becoming a home. On the 5th day, Grace slipped on a wet rock outside. She fell hard. Her ankle twisted beneath her. "Ah!" she cried out. William ran to her. "Grace, don't move." Her ankle was already swelling. Pain shot up her leg like fire. "We need to get you to a doctor," William said, panic in his voice. "The nearest hospital is 40 miles away," Grace said through tears. "We don't have money for a hospital, William." Duke appeared from the woods. He walked straight to Grace and nudged her hand with his nose. Then he grabbed her jacket sleeve gently with his teeth and pulled. "Duke, not now," William said. But Duke pulled harder. He barked. Then he started walking toward the woods, looking back at them. "He wants us to follow him," Grace said. "You can't walk." "Then carry me." William looked at his wife. Even in pain, she was brave. He lifted her carefully and followed Duke into the trees. They walked for 10 minutes. The path was rough. William's arms burned from carrying Grace, but he didn't stop. Then they heard it. Water. Running water. Duke led them through a final row of pine trees. And there it was. A pool of water, steaming in the cold mountain air. It was crystal clear. Rocks surrounded it like nature had built a perfect bathtub. The water bubbled up from somewhere deep underground. "A hot spring," William whispered. Duke barked and jumped into the water. He splashed around, then looked at them as if to say, "See? I told you." "William, put me in," Grace said. "Are you sure? Please." William lowered her into the water carefully. Grace gasped. The water was perfectly warm. Not too hot, not too cold. Like a mother's hug. Within seconds, the pain in her ankle began to fade. "William," she breathed, "I can feel it working. The pain is going away." William sat on a rock, amazed. Grace moved her ankle in the water. It still hurt, but not like before. The swelling seemed to be going down. Duke swam in circles, proud of himself. "How did you find this, boy?" William asked. Duke just barked happily. They stayed in the spring for an hour. When they came out, Grace could walk. Not perfectly, but she could walk. "This is impossible," she said. "Nothing is impossible with God," William replied. That night, they both slept better than they had in years. William's arthritis didn't hurt. Grace's back pain was gone. They felt younger. The visitor who changed everything. 2 days later, a truck pulled up to the cabin. William grabbed a hammer. He didn't trust visitors. An old white man climbed out. He was tall and thin with kind eyes and a gray beard. A golden retriever jumped out after him. "Hello there," the man called. "I'm Frank Morrison. I live about 3 miles down the mountain. Saw smoke from your chimney and thought I'd check on you folks." William relaxed a little. "We're fine. Just fixing up the old place." Frank's dog and Duke sniffed each other and became instant friends. "You're William Jenkins?" Frank asked. "This was your grandfather's place?" "That's right." "Well, I knew your grandfather. Good man. I'm a retired veterinarian. Used to take care of his animals back in the day." Frank looked at Duke. "That's a fine-looking German shepherd. May I?" Grace nodded. Frank examined Duke, checking his teeth, his eyes, his joints. "This dog is in incredible health," Frank said, amazed. "What are you feeding him?" "Same food as always," Grace said. Frank looked confused. "His coat is perfect. His joints are flexible. For a 9-year-old dog, he has the body of a 5-year-old. He paused. "Have you found the spring?" William and Grace looked at each other. "How do you know about the spring?" William asked. Frank smiled. "Everyone around here knows about it. Well, everyone old enough to remember. The indigenous people who lived here first called it the water of life. They used it for healing. My grandfather told me stories about it. People came from far away to bathe in it. But then the mining companies came, and everyone forgot about it. I've been looking for that spring for 30 years. Duke found it," Grace said, "and it healed my ankle." Frank's eyes went wide. "You're serious?" They took him to the spring. Frank knelt beside it and put his hand in the water. He closed his eyes. "It's real," he whispered. "After all these years, it's real." He looked at William and Grace. "Do you understand what you have here? This isn't just water. This is medicine. Natural medicine that can help people." "Our children don't know about this," William said slowly. Frank studied them. He could see the pain behind their eyes. "Your children don't deserve to know," he said quietly. Over the next weeks, Frank became a friend. He brought supplies. He helped William build. He brought his medical equipment and tested the spring water. There's magnesium, sulfur, and minerals I don't even recognize, Frank said one evening. This water is unique. I've never seen anything like it. Grace felt stronger every day. Her arthritis was almost gone. William could work all day without his back hurting. Duke ran and played like a puppy. You could build something here, Frank said. A healing place. A sanctuary. People would come. People who need help. William looked at Grace. Could we? We built everything else, Grace said. Why not build hope? The phone call. 1 month after arriving, Grace's phone rang. It was Jennifer. Mom. Her daughter's voice sounded fake and sweet. How are you? Grace's hand tightened around the phone. We're alive, if that's what you're asking. Mom. Don't be like that. We're worried about you. That cabin must be horrible. Have you thought about what we said? The nursing home has a bed ready. We're not going to a nursing home. Mom, be reasonable. You and Dad can't survive up there. It's almost winter. You'll freeze. You'll starve. Just admit you need help and... We don't need your help, Jennifer. Silence on the other end. What? Jennifer's voice changed. The sweetness disappeared. We're doing fine, Grace said calmly. Better than fine, actually. Your father has rebuilt the cabin. We have heat, power, and water. We have food. We have Duke. And we have each other. That's more than enough. That's impossible, Jennifer said. That place is falling apart. How could you? Your father is a builder, remember? Or did you forget because it was never good enough for you? Mom, listen. No, you listen. Grace's voice was steel. You abandoned us. You threw us away like garbage. You wanted us to die up here so you could take this land. We know about the property value. We found the papers. Your brother knew exactly what this place was worth. More silence. But here's what you don't know, Grace continued. We're not the weak old people you thought we were. We're survivors. We always have been. And we're going to build something beautiful here. Something you'll never be part of. Mom, you're being ridiculous. Grace hung up. William was standing in the doorway. He had heard everything. I'm proud of you, he said. Grace wiped her eyes. They really don't love us, do they? No, William said gently. But we love each other. And Frank loves us. And Duke loves us. That's real family. Duke walked over and put his head on Grace's lap. That night, they sat by the fire. Frank had stayed for dinner. They talked about their plans. We could build small cabins, William said. Nothing fancy. Just simple and clean. People could come stay for a weekend. They could use the spring. Grace could cook. Duke could, I don't know, be himself. Frank laughed. Duke could be the therapist. Animals are better therapists than humans anyway. Duke Ranch, Grace said suddenly. They looked at her. That's what we'll call it. Duke Ranch. Because he found the spring. Because he saved us. Because he's the only one who never gave up on us. William smiled. Duke Ranch. I like it. Duke barked his approval. Outside, snow began to fall. But inside the cabin, it was warm. The fire crackled. 3 people and 2 dogs sat together, planning a future that nobody thought was possible. Grace looked at William. We're going to make it, aren't we? William took her hand. Baby, we're going to do more than make it. We're going to fly. 6 months later, the sign at the entrance read, Duke Ranch, where healing begins. Grace stood on the porch of the main cabin, watching the sun rise over the mountains. Everything had changed. Where there was once one broken cabin, there were now 4 beautiful small cabins. William had built each one with his own hands. They were simple but perfect. Each had a wood stove, comfortable beds, and windows that looked out at the pine trees. The main cabin was where Grace cooked. She had a full kitchen now. Frank had helped them get a proper stove and refrigerator. Every weekend, Grace made organic meals from the garden she had planted. Tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, herbs. Everything grew better here. Maybe it was the spring water they used. Maybe it was love. Duke was 11 years old now, but he looked and acted like a young dog. He greeted every guest with gentle wisdom. People said he could sense what they needed. If someone was sad, Duke would sit beside them quietly. If someone needed energy, Duke would play and make them laugh. The hot spring was the heart of everything. William had built a beautiful stone path to it. They offered 3 guided sessions each weekend. People would soak in the healing water, feel their pain wash away, and leave different than when they came. 12 guests came every weekend. They paid $800 each. That was almost $10,000 a weekend, $40,000 a month, sometimes more. Grace could hardly believe it. They had a waiting list 6 months long. People from California, New York, Texas, everywhere. A reporter from CNN had come and done a story about them. The headline was, "Abandoned Couple Builds Healing Paradise with Loyal Dog." If you're enjoying the story of triumph over betrayal, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe so you never miss inspiring stories like this one. William walked out onto the porch. He put his arm around Grace. "You know what today is?" he asked. "What?" 6 months since we got here. 6 months since our children threw us away. Grace leaned against him. "Best 6 months of our life." "You think they know?" William asked. "About the ranch?" "Oh, they know. Jennifer called again yesterday." I didn't answer. William smiled. "Good." Duke barked from down by the cabins. Guests were waking up. Time to start the day. The return of the ungrateful. The black Mercedes looked out of place on the mountain road. Grace saw it first. She was in the garden picking vegetables when an expensive car pulled up. All 5 of her children stepped out. Jennifer wore a designer dress. Jonathan had on a suit. The others were dressed like they were going to a business meeting. Grace's hand stopped moving. Her heart began to pound. William came out of the workshop. He saw the car and walked to stand beside Grace. Duke moved between them and the children, his body tense. "Mom, Dad." Jennifer called out with a huge fake smile. "Look at this place. It's amazing." The 5 children walked toward them. Grace noticed they were looking at everything. Calculating, judging value. "We had no idea you'd done so much." Jonathan said, "This is impressive, really impressive." "What do you want?" William's voice was cold. "Dad, don't be like that," Jennifer said. "We came to apologize. We were wrong. We see that now. We should have helped you instead of abandoning us." Grace finished. Awkward silence. "We want to make it right," Jonathan said. He pulled out papers from his briefcase. "We want to invest in Duke Ranch, help you expand. We could build 20 more cabins, a restaurant, a spa. This could be huge. You'd make millions." Jennifer added, "We'd all make millions. We're family. We should do this together." Grace and William looked at each other. "No," they said at the same time. "What?" Jennifer's smile disappeared. "You heard us," William said. "No, but this is a great opportunity." Jonathan sputtered. "You need our help, our business expertise." "Our?" "You're agreed," Grace said quietly. "Mom, that's not fair." "Fair?" Grace's voice rose. "You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you about fair." She pulled out her phone. "Before you all arrived at our old house to kick us out, you had a conversation. Do you remember? It was in Jennifer's kitchen. All 5 of you were there." The children's faces went pale. "You didn't know I had come early that day," Grace continued. "I was outside the window. I heard everything, and I recorded it." Grace pressed play. Jonathan's voice came from the phone speaker. "Once they're gone, we sell that mountain property. Split 5 ways. Easy money." Jennifer's voice. "What if they don't die up there? What if they survive?" Another child laughed. "In that cabin? In winter? 2 old people and a dog? Please, give it 3 months." Jonathan again. "The best part is it looks like we're helping them. We're just giving Dad his inheritance. Not our fault if it kills them." Everyone laughing. The recording stopped. The children stood frozen. Their faces showed everything. Shame, guilt, anger at being caught. "You wanted us dead," Grace said. Her voice shook but stayed strong. Your own parents. The people who gave up everything for you. You wanted us dead for money. Mom, we didn't mean, Jennifer started. Get off our property, William said. Dad, please. Now. Duke barked. It was a deep, protective bark. He stepped forward, his teeth showing. The children backed up toward their car. You'll regret this. Jonathan shouted. We're your children. We have rights. You gave up those rights when you abandoned us, Grace said. You are not our children anymore. You're strangers who happen to share our last name. We'll sue. Jennifer yelled. We'll take you to court. Try it, William said. The whole world heard that recording on CNN. Everyone knows what you did. No judge will side with you. The children got in their Mercedes and drove away fast, kicking up dust. Grace started crying. William held her. Duke pressed against their legs. It's over, William whispered. They can't hurt us anymore. Frank walked over from his cabin. He had watched the whole thing. You did good, he said. Real good. 2 years later, legacy of love. Duke was 13 years old now, but he still moved like a young dog. The spring water kept him healthy and strong. Duke Ranch was famous. The waiting list was 14 months long. The property was worth over $2 million. 3 universities were studying the spring water. Scientists came regularly to test it and learn its secrets. They had discovered minerals that didn't exist anywhere else on Earth. William and Grace had been on the cover of Sunset magazine with the headline, Love, Loyalty, and Healing, How an Abandoned Couple Built a Paradise. A Netflix documentary crew was filming Duke's story. They called it Duke, the dog who saved everything. The children had tried to sue for family alienation. The judge threw the case out immediately. He said their recorded conversation proved they were motivated by greed, not love. Jonathan lost half his law clients after the recording went public. People didn't want a lawyer who would betray his own parents. Jennifer's restaurant closed after people boycotted it. The other 3 children had faded away. They never called, never visited. They were too ashamed. Frank had officially become a partner in Duke Ranch. He lived in one of the cabins and helped train new therapy dogs. They now had 4 German shepherds, all learning from Duke. Grace stood in the kitchen of the main cabin, preparing dinner for guests. She was 74 now, but she looked and felt younger than she had at 72. William was outside, teaching a young couple how to build a fire properly. His laugh echoed across the ranch. If this story touched your heart, please like this video to help others find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to start over. And subscribe for more powerful true stories of hope and redemption. A car pulled up, not a Mercedes this time. An old Honda. Grace tensed, but then she saw who it was. Frank's daughter and grandchildren. They came every month now. The grandchildren called Grace and William Grandma and Grandpa. Real family. Chosen family. The kind of family that stays. Christmas miracle. It was Christmas Eve. Snow covered the mountains like frosting on a cake. The ranch was closed for the holidays, but the main cabin was full of life. Frank's family. Some former guests who had become friends. People who had been healed by the ranch and wanted to give back. Duke lay by the fire, watching everyone with wise eyes. 4 young German shepherds lay around him, learning by watching. Someone knocked on the door. William opened it. His 5 children stood there. They held presents. They wore humble clothes, not expensive ones. We know we have no right, Jennifer said. Her voice was small. But it's Christmas. We wanted to try one more time. We're sorry. Really, truly sorry. William looked back at Grace. She came to the door. Duke stood up and walked over, standing between them and the children. Grace looked at each of her children's faces. She saw something there. Maybe it was real regret. Maybe it wasn't. You wanted us dead, Grace said softly. You threw us away like trash. For 2 years, you never called to see if we were okay. You only came back when you saw we were successful. We were wrong, Jonathan started. Yes, you were, William interrupted. And you'll have to live with that. We've forgiven you, because forgiveness is for us, not for you. But forgiveness doesn't mean trust. It doesn't mean relationship. The door is open, Grace added, but only for real love, not for greed, not for guilt. If you ever truly change, if you ever learn what real love means, maybe someday you can walk through it. She paused. But not today. She closed the door gently. The children stood outside for a moment, then walked back to their cars. Inside, the party continued. Frank's granddaughter played piano. People sang. Duke's tail wagged in rhythm. William looked at Grace. Did we do the right thing? Grace smiled. We did the loving thing. Real love protects itself. Real love knows its worth. You two are something else, Frank said, raising his glass. To William and Grace Jenkins, the strongest people I know. Everyone raised their glasses. To William and Grace. Duke barked happily. The final chapter. Duke lived to be 16 years old. When he finally passed away peacefully in his sleep, the ranch closed for a week. Over 300 people came to his memorial service. But Duke's legacy didn't die. The 4 German shepherds he trained continued his work. They healed people with their presence, their loyalty, their unconditional love. William and Grace ran Duke Ranch until they were 80 years old. Then they handed it over to Frank's daughter, who ran it with the same love and care. The ranch still operates today. The waiting list is over 2 years long. The spring still heals. The dogs still comfort. The love still flows. William and Grace lived to be 92 years old. They died within 3 days of each other, holding hands, surrounded by their chosen family. At their funeral, hundreds came, former guests, scientists, families, people whose lives have been changed by a broken cabin and a loyal dog. The 5 children came too. They stood in the back. They had never learned. They had never changed. But it didn't matter anymore. Because William and Grace's real legacy wasn't in their blood children. It was in the thousands of people they had healed, the love they had spread, the hope they had built from betrayal. The grave marker read, William and Grace Jenkins, builders, healers, survivors. They turned abandonment into paradise. They chose love over bitterness. They proved that family is what you make it. And next to their graves, a statue of Duke, forever watching over them, forever loyal, forever love. The message, this story is true in the ways that matter most. It teaches us that real family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. Your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. It's never too late to start over. Betrayal can become your biggest blessing if you refuse to let it break you. Love always wins, but you have to choose it every day. William and Grace could have been bitter. They could have given up. They could have let their children's cruelty destroy them. Instead, they built. They built walls. They built cabins. They built a business. They built a legacy. But most importantly, they built a life worth living. With a rusty truck, a broken cabin, a loyal dog, and each other, they created paradise. Not because they had a lot, but because they refused to give up. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone facing betrayal. Someone who feels abandoned. Someone who needs hope. And subscribe so you never miss stories that can change lives. Your support helps us share these powerful messages with the world. Drop a comment below. What would you do if your family abandoned you? Have you ever had to build a new life from nothing? Remember, the greatest revenge is living well. The greatest victory is refusing to become bitter. The greatest love is the kind you choose, not the kind you're born with. Duke Ranch still stands today, healing people one spring at a time. And somewhere William and Grace are smiling. Thank you for reading this story of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. May it remind you that you are stronger than you know, and it's never too late to build your paradise.